Hello, my name is Starlight. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and I'm reaching out to all of you beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is. And look at it. Look at the beautiful green. And I'll just show you really quick is there's where I came from. And I'm not going to spin you around too fast here. And this is where Starlight's going. So Starlight went on this trail yesterday, and it's such a beautiful trail around the lake. So anyway, as always, come on, put the remote control down, get off the chair, the sofa, out of your bedroom. You've been in your bedroom all this time. Come on, gotta come out, get some air. You know, this is how you heal yourself, get in touch with the universe, the animals. You know, it's the best place you can ever go. Mostly, they should never charge to go for a hike, but most of the time it's going to be free, and the parking should be free. So anyway, I love you all, and if you are new to my YouTube channel, welcome, and you can find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you could give my videos a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, don't forget, you can leave me a message down below, beep, 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 and you could share my videos. You could share my videos with your family, your friends. Let's see, there's geese out here and ducks. Plus, not only you could share my videos with your geese or ducks, is you can also check out my playlist, and don't forget the notification bell, and you can follow me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman Starlight. So before I start this video, I just want to say thank you to all of you that recently subscribed to my YouTube channel, those of you that give me a thumbs up, and those of you who do leave me a comment down below. And like I say, I never know what is going to be said on the comments, so you know, I am ready for anything now. So anyway, I love you all, and thank you for any of you that share my videos. So here we go. Today is right here is Starlight is on a hiking trail and today's topic is, now this might be weird when I say this, is wherever you are, whatever, you know, I don't know where you live, I don't know what kind of job you have, or what you're dealing with, but wherever you are, whatever's going on, whether you think it's good or bad, you're right where you actually belong right now. And so you're probably thinking, but Starlight, I'm in this horrible relationship. Yeah, well, are you learning the lesson in that, you know, that toxic relationship? Or, you know, because we all have choices in life, what we decide to do and how much we're going to put up with, you know. So, and really, we're not, you know, like just like in the Bible, some people think, some people think that, you know, we should hang out with everyone and anyone. Well, I'll tell you what, you're going to have a whole lot of problems going on in your life, you know, just because we're all, well, maybe we're all human. I'm not quite 100% sure of if we're all human, but should we really hang out with just anyone? Absolutely not. Even in the Bible, you know. So it is not good, even if you call yourself a Christian, to, you know, would I want to be, if I called myself a Christian, does that mean I can hang out with the devil? Huh. So really question the kind of people that you surround yourself with. And if you're in a toxic relationship, well, guess what? You have to, you know, like figure out what you're doing in that relationship, and is that where you want to be? You know, of course not, right? You got to really question, like, what is more important, especially if you have children in the home, you know, and if you're in a toxic relationship. If you have kids living in your house, is you really need to be mindful of you know, the safety of your children if it's a toxic relationship. And So is it safe for your children to be in a relationship with somebody that's not good for you? So that is what you got to ask yourself, is if you're in a toxic relationship, are your children safe in that relationship? And if they're not, then you really need to make sure your children are in a safe environment, not just your children, but yourself. So we're supposed to really have God come first, the universe come first, then you. And then, of course you want to be there. We're here to, like if you're a mom or a dad, you got to protect your children. So you could be in a toxic relationship and you might not like it. Well, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? Are you just going to, complain about the toxic relationship that you're in? Or are you going to do something about it, by making plans and getting out of that toxic environment? So that is what you got to make sure, that if you're in a toxic relationship, it's up to you what to do. So I say that wherever you are right now is where where you're supposed to be, because you're there to learn a lesson. What is the lesson? Like, for example, if you are in a toxic relationship, are you gonna let that keep going on and just stay there? And maybe your family knows that you're in a toxic relationship and they keep telling you that you got to get out, because family that love you are going to say, yeah, you're not, we see what he does to you, or what she does to you. It goes both ways. It's not just guys that can be toxic. Women can be toxic to men that they're in a relationship with. How about the job? You could be at a job, and what do? You don't like it, but do you feel forced that you got to go there? I got to go there. Are you forced to go to that job? Well, see, you could be at a job and you're miserable at that job, but you're like, but Starlight, I got to pay bills. I get that. You know what? I totally get that. But it's not going to help you out if you're in a job that causes a lot of stress. It could be the boss, it could be the employees, it could be the staff, it could be your coworkers. What makes it where you're not happy? It could be how much work you're doing compared to the kind of money you're making. Are they, like giving you raises, and how much, do they, oh yeah, we want you to stay here longer. We don't want to lose you. You're a really good worker. Are they, each year giving you more money, and how much more money do they give you? Or they just like, because you got to really, when it comes to a workplace, like when it comes to getting what you deserve is, you got to really be bold and say, I deserve more. You don't even, a lot of times the bosses, or you can't always rely on managers or supervisors really, because a lot of crazy stuff goes on at the workplace. You could be a really hard worker. You could be picking the slack of other people, and then complain, because that's where Starlight was, doing other people's work, because they weren't doing it, and then get upset because you're not getting paid anymore. Well, stop doing the extra stuff. Because that was Starlight. I was doing other people's jobs. People weren't doing, and this is what people do a lot of times at companies. They don't, say, for instance, cleaning the bathroom. This happened many times with Starlight when I worked at Burger King, is nobody wanted to clean the bathroom. Whoever wants to clean a dirty toilet, after somebody made a big mess, and nobody really wants to go and clean the toilet. Have you been around in public places and see what people do to bathrooms? Maybe you're one of those people that makes a big mess, in a bathroom. I don't know. But whoever wants to go in and clean those kind of messes? Nobody in their right mind wants to go in there. But there are people like Starlight wants the place clean. So, where there's people that they don't want to clean the bathroom. So what they do is they go in, they get told by their supervisor or their boss to go do the bathroom. And so what they do is they do a horrible job. And every time they do it, they do a horrible job. And so then other people end up getting those jobs because the other people don't really, they don't want to put any effort into doing a good job like they're supposed to. Instead of the supervisor or boss dealing with that person and training them and teaching them how to do a good job and talking to them and saying, hey, you're here to work to do a good job on the toilets. And this is where this world is so different, so messed up. The people don't want to go out and work, or do a good job when they are at work, so they will do a half-assed job, but then a lot of times the people won't correct them right there and then, to say, no, you did okay, but you got to do better, And these days now, everybody's afraid that they're going to get a lawsuit or, some kind of problem is going to happen, or that, they don't want to take the time to hire the right kind of people. So, and this is why we have to be mindful, like I said about robots, people might get so aggravated about hiring people that they might really want to hire robots, because I've heard people complain at a Dollar Tree before about where they, I said, oh my, they don't have a person here to cash out people at the Dollar Tree. And they're like, well, we can't find anybody that wants to work. And so that is a big, huge problem, is if they can't find anybody to work, then we're going to have robots do the work for us. So that is why, as people who do take a job, is to do your very best. That's what Starlight does. I do my very absolute best. But, if you're at a company and you don't like what's going on, is that you gotta either try to fix it, just like a relationship. And if it doesn't work, get another job. Oh, but you don't see, that's the whole thing. That means it's going to be a lot of work. This is life. Get used to it. Believe me, anything that you really want in life, you got to work hard for it. There's a lot of people I've met throughout my whole life, whether family, friends, or whatever, people that I knew before. And I met a lot of people, they just thought that everything was going to get handed to them. And that's why it's so important that you teach your kids things just don't get handed to you. You have to work. That's why it's so important that you just don't hand things to your kids. You want that? How bad do you want it? Well, you're going to have to work for it, Teach them that, you want that bicycle. You already just got your birthday. We already gave you a birthday. We don't do Christmas here because we know that Satan Claus is, of the devil. And, so you're not getting Christmas stuff at Christmas time, because that's not what it's meant for. And so I know some of you already got offended by that, but that's okay. I'm not here to people please. So yeah, with a company, if you gotta, it's hard work. Yeah, that means you gotta go out and do things that you don't want to do. It's better to go out and do the things that you don't want to do by trying to better yourself than to stay with a company that don't even respect you, or even is willing to work with you if you're being a good employee. So be mindful of these things, is that wherever you are, it's to teach you a lesson. God, universe, or whatever name that you want to give out there, because there is something much greater than us that has more power over, how do you think we got here? Is that, I don't believe it was just humans that got us here. Maybe aliens, I don't know, that's questionable. So whatever you believe in is, you're being taught a lesson. So where you are, you don't have to stay where you are, but you're the one that's staying. If you don't like where you are, if it's a job or a relationship or where you live, it's your fault. I know, isn't that painful? You're the one. It's nobody else is in your way except for you. You're the one that's in your own way. You're the one that's got to take the steps to do what you need to do to make changes. So whatever you're going through, those are lessons that you need to learn, and that's why you're there. Is, like when it comes to companies working for them, maybe you're afraid to use your voice. Maybe, you don't want to go out and kind of like bite the bullet and say, oh yeah, you know what, this company doesn't care. You know, I've been hearing complaints left and right about other employees, you know, this stuff has been going on, they don't want to pay people. And, you know, and then, you know, the prices of everything goes up higher, but then your boss doesn't really, you know, like want to, you know, pay you like you're worth, you know, and you might be doing extra stuff. So if that's the case, if you're doing other people's work and you're, you know, it's your own fault, is because that's what happened to Starlight, is doing other people's work and then complaining that, you know, I'm only getting paid so much, you know. So you have to learn your lessons, and that's why you are where you are. So it might suck where you are right now, but guess what? You're not stuck. You're not stuck where you are. You're the one that's keeping yourself there. And we can have so many excuses of why we are there. We got to think outside the box and figure out there's other ways of doing things. As far as relationship goes, if you already try to work on that relationship and they're not willing to change, they're not willing to do anything to improve the relationship, then it's up to you to get out of that relationship that is no longer serving you. You don't want to be holding on to things that are no longer serving you, or people, because those are the things that are going to hold you back, is the people that are not loving and supporting you. So it's up to you in this lifetime, is are you going to let people run over top of you, or are you going to step up and say, you know what, I really don't need you in my life. I thought I needed you in my life, but really I'm better off without you in my life. So you gotta, there's no accidents and no coincidence in this reality, and so you have to be the one to be the driver in your life, you know, and be the one to decide, okay, you know what, I've been dealing with this too long, and I've been putting it off, you know, waiting, you know, especially when it comes to Christmas time. A lot of people around the holidays, you know, like if you work at a company, a lot of people are like, oh, you know what, I'm just going to hang on a little bit longer and see if we get a Christmas bonus this year, you know, hanging on a little bit longer in this relationship, see if they change, and hanging on a little bit longer, you know. And I'll tell you what, if you think that you got to stay in those relationships, you know, you're being fooled, is that they're pulling you down, and it's going to really stunt your growth, and you're not going to be able to grow very far or do any very much things in your life. They're going to pull you back, and you can't blame anyone, you know. There's toxic people out there. They will criticize you, they will down you, and if you feel like, hey, you know, they're teaching me a lesson, yeah, they're teaching you a lesson that you don't have, you know, God's using them to, or the universe is using them to teach you a lesson, to see how long are you going to stay in that, you know, how long are you going to keep yourself in that situation or in that relationship. So anyway, wherever you are, right, is where God has you. And so you have to, you're the one that should be the driver of your life. And do you want to be in that toxic relationship, or do you want to be with that company that don't even care? They don't even know your name, they don't even know where you live, you know. They just sign a check, and they don't even know, you know, they might have met you the first time, you hardly ever might even meet your boss or see your boss, you know. So, and you really, I'll tell you, these days you can't even count on your supervisor, or with your supervisor or managers, because you can't, you know, are they even letting the boss know all the work that you're doing? So you got to really, you know, just because they became a supervisor or a manager doesn't mean that they're really looking out for your best interests. So you could be doing all the hard work, but maybe they're not telling the boss all the hard work that you're doing. Maybe they don't know, you know, and that's why you're still getting paid. How much still, you know, after all this time, and you're thinking every year you're going to get more. So anyway, I love you, and this is Starlight. You can give this video a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can leave me a message down below, beep, 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 and you could share this video with a family member, a friend. I'm sorry, I got birds up here. A bird, and let's see, an owl, and You can also check out my playlist and follow me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K, Dingman Starlight. I love you all. This is Starlight, and you are where you belong. It's up to you whether you stay there or move on. So I love you. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace.